Well, thanks for staying with us here on AccuWeather Weekend. I'm Kristina Shalhoup, and I want to take you across the country. We'll get everyone out the door this morning, and you can see the storm we're talking about. This thing is massive, spanning more than 1,000 miles north to south as a cold front associated with this storm drags its way through the central states on toward the northeast. Let's dig in this morning. Let's talk about what comes next here as this system starts to push its way across the central states. And, you know, this is one of those situations, folks, where it's kind of everything but the kitchen sink between severe weather, snow, heavy rain, some flash flooding possible, and a widespread area of wind we're concerned about. But I want to dig into the severe weather threat that we have on this Saturday, today. You'll notice we have two levels of risk, the some risk in yellow and the moderate risk in orange. That moderate risk is where we have more numerous storms possible, just as you're getting into West Tennessee, out towards cities like Jackson, Tennessee, to Memphis, and then as you head down I-55 toward Jackson, Mississippi, and all the way back to Shreveport, Louisiana. Now, the some risk is where we have some spotty severe weather, but hey, severe weather is severe weather nonetheless, and unfortunately, all threats are on the table. Wind and hail, they're in a medium risk. Those are the two things we're really looking for today. But then we still have flooding and tornadoes, both in a low-end risk, but low does not mean zero. You want to make sure you have multiple ways to get watches and warnings. I know it's a Saturday. I know so many people have plans, but just make a severe weather plan part of your Saturday plan. Let's watch this front here as it moves across the Tennessee Valley. There we go. You'll notice these cells out ahead of them. Thanks for joining us here on AccuWeather Weekend. I'm Kristina Shalhoup, and voila, here's the storm, my friends. The cold front dragging through the Tennessee and Ohio valleys. We've already had a number of thunderstorms today, as well as multiple tornado warnings into West Tennessee and parts of southern Kentucky. Please make sure that you are prepared for severe weather today and tomorrow as well as we track this whole system across the East Coast. I do want across this part of the country. As you can see, severe weather is something we've been considering for quite some time here on AccuWeather. In fact, we issued a risk for Saturday severe weather almost a week ago today. And you'll notice we have the two levels now, the some risk from Louisville all the way across I-10, Houston, Lafayette, and Mobile. And then there's that moderate risk. No coincidence, that is where we have the tornado watch out now. That's where more numerous storms with those severe weather threats are possible. All severe weather threats are on the table today, from tornadoes to wind, hail, to flash flooding possible as well. Let's follow the line that's bringing all the problems here across the Tennessee and Ohio valleys. And you can see, yes, there is the big, long, skinny line, but I do have concerns as well for these little individual cells out front of the line. We call them discrete cells, and they have the ability to kind of do their own thing. They can rotate a little more easily than something, let's say, embedded within the line. That said, we're not counting anything out today. Again, all threats are on the table, so you really want to make sure you're staying weather aware. Late tonight, this whole line starts to push to the east, and I want to mention the line itself going to bring some soaking rain, thunder, and lightning, and some very gusty winds as well, stretching all the way back through Tennessee, through Kentucky, all the way down to the Gulf Coast towards cities like New Orleans, Louisiana, and Baton Rouge as well. Line continues overnight into tomorrow. We lose a little steam, but we're still going to ramp up that thunderstorm threat tomorrow. More on that in a second. I do want to mention we have some power outages on the northern side of this system. Michigan now with 55,000 and more people out of power. A couple thunderstorms have rumbled back through Michigan, but as we look to the west, we have seen more in the way of snow. That's for the UP of Michigan, not so much the Mitten, and then into the Dakotas and Minnesota as well. You can see in terms of this system, we're looking at 3 to 6 inches in the dark blue driving through North Dakota. On to the east, we're looking at a widespread wind problem here, which means power outages, I would say at this point, are kind of a given. Here's some advice for handling those power outages over the next 48 hours. All right, I want to show you the setup here for this system as it continues on to Sunday. Again, it's just kind of bad news here because this is going to strengthen and really it's going to pull in some tropical moisture and become incredibly windy and wet across the eastern seaboard. Yes, there's going to be enough cold air for a little winter weather. We'll talk about that. But first, let's dig into our second severe weather threat. We've got today and then tomorrow. And you can see it's almost like we've taken today's area and just shoved it to the east. We once again have some risk. This time, though, it extends across places like Washington, D.C., back toward Richmond, all the way down the Florida Peninsula to Tampa across I-75. That's where, again, some spotty severe weather is possible. Then there's our moderate risk right along the Carolina coastline. We are concerned for cities like Wilmington, Kill Devil Hills, as you're heading out to the Outer Banks, that we could see a spin-up tornado or two. Now, back to the north, this is where we have the widespread wind event that we're very concerned with. Not necessarily those small-scale winds like in a thunderstorm, but because of the exchange of this air mass, we'll just call it that, how powerful the system is, we're going to see some really gusty winds more widespread. This across I-95 heading through New England. We could see gusts well over 50 miles per hour. In fact, take a look at the map here. You can see in purple, the darkest purple just along down east.